Alright, I'm ready whenever everybody else is.
Yeah, they can. Alright, we're good?
In it.
So, we left off last game as you guys kind of finished some shopping for the day after being paid by Yovir on your path back from Clan Igdan, having completed your quest for the Night Stalker and relieving that clan of its threat for the time being. He paid you 3,500 gold, which you guys split up. Went back to Tal'cratis, arrived in the evening, and went to Wolfswear blacksmith. Commissioned some things, some modifications, took a look at some of his items, and then went over to a place called Honest Illusions, where you were served by an interesting orcish man who turned out to not be the shopkeeper of the establishment and ended up being somebody who was trying to sell his wares in his stead, as his lock has been broken for several weeks. The actual owner of the establishment offered the alchemist fire that Verna was purchasing as just kind of a compensation for not contributing to his degrading reputation in town due to this guy, and some of you offered your services to try and help figure out who he was, and he suggested that maybe you go talk to the guards to kind of report it because he was not kind of like willing to do so. He also said that he was having somebody to come fix the lock at the end of this week, which I believe we're at the end of anyway, so it'll be like the next day. So yeah, you guys pretty much finished shopping there, left the shop, and we're out in the streets as the sun has set. Darkness is kind of starting to fill the sky over Tal'cratis as you're now back in town.
I wanted to go to like was Fletcher. If there was one in town.
Yeah, they directed you when you were at Wolfswear to a Fletcher, which is by the council chambers, a place called Highland Hunt.
I guess I'll head in that direction.
Yeah, I'll come with.
Okay. Does everybody want to go there?
Sure.
It could hurt, sure. It's like an arrow and bow emporium. I don't know what a bow shop is called. Like,
Fletcher is like somebody that does
Fletcher.
like arrows, bows. As you approach the place that they pointed out to you, you see it's like very much like the other architecture in town. Much of the red brick, kind of swooped ends to the roofs. As you walk in, there are just these furs and leathers adorning like every surface of the interior of this building. And the smell from the inside of this building as well kind of matches that, filled with animal hides. You see an orcish woman behind kind of this like large glass-covered counter. There's multiple bows kind of stacked up underneath inside this case that is the counter itself. You see her actually just kind of like skinning out a large animal fur on the counter as you walk in. And she kind of puts a hand up to signal you walking in.
Good evening.
What can I do for you?
I was wondering if you had any crossbows or anything of that sort.
When you say crossbow, she kind of like rolls her eyes for, and like you look around the room for a second and you notice that there's like they're all long bows, short bows, like none of them are crossbows themselves. And she goes, Southerners always wanting the easy bows. You sure you're not interested in something possibly a little more classic?
Normally I would say yes, but I'm so tiny and frail.
She's pretty tall, like looking down at this halfling woman in front of her. She goes, suppose that's fair. Well, I do have some, but they're not my proudest work. What size are you looking for?
Anything light.
Sure. And she kind of she like goes to the back room, like pulls out a cart. She like blows some dust off of these like crossbows, takes the tarp off the top of it, and see there's an assortment of like a couple hand crossbows in there, like 4 or 5 of them, and there's 2 or 3 light crossbows, and they kind of have this they have a relatively like ornate finish to them, kind of mimicking the longbows that are strung out in this room.
I guess if you look at some light crossbows.
All right. Well, we do have a standard issue, just run of the mill light crossbow here, and she just sets it up on the counter. You're able to hold it. It's, it's like a normal size for you. It feels relatively well balanced, just like a standard crossbow. She says, if you're looking for something a little more ornate or powerful, I have some of these side-strung short bows that function the same as a crossbow, but they're a little quick to the trigger and a little more forceful load in the arrow, but they're a little more pricey.
Would those still be classified as like crossbows?
Yeah, it would still be a light crossbow, just like a higher quality one.
Yeah, I'll take a look at those.
Sorry?
I'll take a look at those.
Sure. So she takes that one out and puts the more ornate one up. You see, it's like actually like a recurve short bow that's been just like mounted horizontally, and then like bolted down to a heavy base, that comes back, and there's like this elaborate like leather wrapping on the handle and everything. And you like as you kind of pull on the string for tension, you feel like it's a lot tighter tension, and there's probably a lot more force behind this arrow being fired out of this thing.
Cool. I'll take that.
The ornate one?
Yeah, the one I was just looking at.
The normal one? Sorry, it's hard to hear you.
I know the one I was just looking at, the one you just described.
Oh, okay. That one? Okay, so... well, if you're looking for this mounted recurve, this is going to run for 40 gold. But if you're looking for the normal ones, these are 18.
Yeah, why not splurge? I'll go for the 40 gold.
All right. So, yeah, go ahead and add ornate light crossbow to your inventory, and I will send you a handout after the game for that. Oops.
Might as well get some
Here.
arrows too.
Were you looking for like specific types of arrows, or just like normal ammunition?
I didn't really think about that. What other types are there?
Well, I've got kinds that can inflict heavy bleeding on an animal if you're looking to hunt. More blunt ones if you're looking for a non-lethal approach. It's kind of my specialty is the ammunition. Anything you could really need.
Get some of both.
Why not get a little bit of both of those?
Sorry?
A little bit of both of those.
Sure. And she kind of like, she takes out you see this like, there's like a normal arrow that she lays on the counter. But she takes like another one. You see that this like, this carved kind of like gray stone is mounted to the front of it. And it's not just like tied on. It's like, it's actually like kind of screwed into the shaft. And it's got a small leather padded front on it. And you feel like if you got struck in the head with this, that it would like possibly knock somebody out. It's shaped very much to like inflict maximum damage on like a single point. And the other arrow she lays down is pretty much like a standard arrowhead, but it's kind of like serrated on the sides. Kind of hooks back like it's got like a barb on the side of it. And you feel like it's a lot sharper than like a normal one.
Okay. Yeah, I guess so. Get 20. Yeah, 20 of each, maybe.
20?
Yeah, of each of them.
All right. That will be, let's see. So for the blunt arrows, that will be a gold each, and for the serrated, that is 2 each. So you're getting what? You're getting 20, and then
160, I think.
sorry, did you say 40 or 20 of each?
20 of each.
Okay, so you got 20, and then so you get 60, right? 60 gold for all of them.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right. She like piles up the ammunition and kind of like bundles it for you and puts it in like a kind of like a thin, not like a permanent quiver, but just something to like you could slide inside of a quiver that you do have. And kind of hands them to you for easy packing. As you like pay up the gold and everything, she goes, "So, what are you looking to hunt?"
Hunt? No. I don't know.
Man, the greatest game.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it is, I imagine will be larger than you lot, but with this by your side, you should be relatively set. I've seen those smaller than you take down bears with these, so. Yes, is there anything else I can have you look at, get for you?
I'm all set. Thank you.
All right. Any of the others here need anything?
It's primarily ranged weapons and stuff, right? Like bows and arrows.
Yeah, like looking around, it's pretty much just bows and like there are a few like throwing knives around, but for the most part, it just seems to be like projectile weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have any darts?
Oh, there are some darts.
I would like to buy some darts, please.
Just standard darts. How many are you looking for?
Well, you say standard as if you have an assortment of different types here.
Well, I've got the standard's the most typical, and she takes one out, and it's a normal weighted dart. She goes, but we have some unique hunters in the area, and they prefer larger game. And she takes you see a dart that's 3 times as long, and it's really heavy. And she kind of sets it down on the table, and it pounds when it sits down. I'm not sure if somebody of your stature could throw these very easily.
Probably not.
But if you can, they can be pretty devastating to some game.
Are they strength-based darts?
You picking it up, you feel like you need some muscle to get these going. They're not impossible to lift. It's not like a shot put, but they're significantly heavier. Because the darts you have, Marlene, are still pretty big.
Right. I guess I'll take. I guess how many of your standard darts do you have on hand? Because it's a.
Oh, I've just the normal darts. I've got about 150.
Oh, I'll take 18.
18 darts. All right, that will come to. Oops. I need a calculator. Hang on, because they're not that much. That'll be 14 gold.
Okay.
Without metagaming too hard, but actually metagaming pretty hard. So are they strength-based darts?
So these ones would probably function a little differently. They need a minimum of strength requirement to use. But otherwise they function the same.
Oh, okay.
Then they just have a higher damage and a higher impact.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Okay. And do you specifically specialize in just like ranged like hunting, or do you have anything for, let's say, a fisherman perchance?
I've got some fishing gear if you need some.
I guess I do need to stock up, and I'm curious if you've heard of when I was in the north, I heard of something called spider silk fishing line. Is that something that's known around here?
Yes, that's one of the highest quality lines you can get. I don't particularly have much here. But what exactly are you looking to catch? Not many people need that for...
Well, I'm told that the line itself is supposed to be unbreakable, or very close to it.
Theoretically.
I'm going to pull out my combat fishing rod and I'm going to lay it on the table.
So Marleon lays out this broadsword without a blade fishing rod with a dagger for a hook at the end. And you see her just kind of like reel back for a second and look down and be like,
I like my fish big.
what did you say you were fishing for again?
The last time I tried fishing, I hooked on accident a dragon turtle, and I'm thinking I would like to try for real this time.
I'm not sure I've ever heard of somebody catching a dragon turtle, but if you're going to, you will probably need spider silk line.
How much do you have?
I have like half a spool. It's not enough for a full rod, but can get the job done, I suppose. How close you are to it. I'm not sure how close you want to get to a dragon turtle. I won't advise fishing for a dragon turtle, by the way.
We don't want to be held. We don't want to be liable for any dragon turtle related moves.
Exactly.
Half a spool. How many feet is that?
Half a spool is about 60 feet.
How much would that run me? Because that's about as much as I have for 300-pound tension line right now.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't suggest mixing the lines because obviously it's only as strong as its weakest link.
Right.
But for the 60 feet of spool that I do have, that'll run about 250 gold.
Ooh. This is not something, I'm gonna look to the party, that I do very often. Are you a gambler?
I'm not, unfortunately, but...
Okay.
Why are you asking?
Well, I was going to propose a game of darts. And if you win, I'll pay the full price. And if I win, we reduce that by 50 gold.
Roll a persuasion check.
Not my strong suit.
Oh!
She looks at you like, and sees like, just like looks you up and down and goes, I'm not usually a gambler myself, but I'll offer you this. 50 gold off the price if you win. But she pushes the large dart forward on the counter. We play with these.
Okay.
Very well. And she kind of like takes everything else, puts it away, brings out two more of these huge darts. They're like they're probably like 1.5 feet long.
Oh
They're almost
God.
just like little tiny like spears, but they're like weighted. And picking one up, it's like you kind of have to like heft it, like get the balance in your hand a little bit. But you're able to hold it perfectly well. She kind of like brings you all to the side of the shop. It's got this opening where like there's a fenced-in area outside, and there is a shooting range for most of the bows that are next to the building. And it's getting dark out, so she kind of like brings out a torch as she lights next to each side of the target, and sets up a hay bale and kind of like sets a board up next to it that's got a knot in the middle of it. And she looks at you and goes, 3 darts each. Most bullseyes win.
Sure.
Or closest to.
Closest to.
All right. Would you like to go first or me?
Why don't you go first? I feel it's unfair.
All right, well, and she kind of takes a few steps back and like drags her heel in the dirt to like make a line to stand behind. You see her take the dart in her hand, and she's like relatively built. She like flips it up in her hand and like catches it, and then kind of holds it by the back end. And just kind of like closes one eye and throws it at the thing in front of her. Didn't open my dice roller. Like I never do. And the first one you see just kind of sticks in like the top left corner of the board, off target. And she kind of like waves the other one in her hand and motions for you to take a shot.
Okay.
She's given you 3 of them, by the way, to shoot with.
Okay. Is there anything different that I'm rolling with for this? Or
So what is your strength score?
14.
Okay. So, yeah, you'll be rolling, but you'll be taking you'll be making an attack roll, like a normal with a normal dart, but you'll be subtracting 1, whatever the roll is.
Okay, so whatever the roll is, I just subtract 1 then?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm gonna roll the standard dart roll then.
Yep.
Okay. So 12.
Okay. So let me see my percentage chart here. Yeah, so you kind of like you take the dart, take a few moments to kind of weigh it in your hand, and you're not able to like throw it from the back end, but you kind of throw it like a spear. And as it flies at the board, it lands closer to the bullseye, like to the top right. And like the whole board kind of like shakes for a moment with these huge darts getting turned into it. Still not a bullseye, but closer to the target than she got. She kind of nods and goes, "Not bad for a first throw." She gets her second one ready and just immediately whips it like right after you're done. And you see this one stick right into the center of the bullseye on the shot.
God, dear God.
And she walks forward and pulls it out, right? Because you're all shooting for the same spot.
Yeah.
She walks forward and he goes, "All right, you're up."
Okay. Okay. 12.
This one, you actually managed to like almost like split the feathers in the other dart that you threw, as it misses that dart by just like a half of an inch, just a barely like closer to the bullseye, but not in yet.
Okay.
She walks forward, weighs the next one, and as she throws this dart, you see the back of it, like one of the feathers like comes out in her hand and it's like off kilter for a second, and it and like sticks into the hay bale next to the dart itself, or next to the board, and is like a complete miss. She kind of like sighs for a moment, like wrings her hand out. She goes, "Well, see what you've got."
I'm gonna shout out. Oh, I was gonna inspire you, but
Now you're just shouting. What are you shouting?
I was gonna go, "Oh, Marleon!"
Yeah, as you throw this one, it whizzes like right past the first one you threw, and then kind of like hits a small gust and sticks right into the bullseye.
Yes.
For the board. She looks to you and goes, "All right, well, we're tied. One more, I suppose." And pulls the darts out of the board, and then hands one to you and goes, "You first this time. Whoever's closest."
I guess that's what it comes down to.
This one again, you like now that you've felt the weight of the dart in your hand, you manage to grab it from the back end this time and whip it forward, and the force just like drives it right into the like just barely off center, but in the bullseye itself. And you see her like shocked for a moment, as she takes hers. All right. As she takes hers and just kind of nods to you, looks at the board, takes her dart and throws it, and it literally like skins the right side of your dart and goes into the direct center of the bullseye. I'm not lying. I will post it.
Are you freaking kidding me?
General, these are the fucking rolls. Natural 20 at the end.
Oh, God dang it. I tried so hard. Okay.
So, as she kind of like, as she does that, she like looks confident at you, but like also you see like some sweat going down the side of her, out of her forehead. Like that was close. And she goes, "Full price then."
That's what we agreed upon.
All right. Well, and she like, as she's pulling them out, she's like, "Well, it wasn't half bad a shot though for your first time. I have to admit, I'm impressed." And she kind of like brings you back inside. Brings out a small kind of like encased like a paper wrapped spool. She kind of unwraps it in front of you on the counter. You see it's this it's like a metal spool, and inside of it there's this like almost translucent but like light blue threading that goes around like many times on this tiny little spool. As you take a piece out, you feel like it's like the steel line that you have right now is kind of like hefty and like thick.
Yeah.
This is like very thin, but when you pull on it, it just feels like solid. But when you let it go, it almost like floats in the air for a moment and kind of settles down.
Excellent.
And she kind of slides it forward, and she goes, 250 for 60 feet.
A deal's a deal. I will pay her the 250 that I owe.
I mean, that's a pretty solid wager. I mean, if I lose, nothing changes. If I win,
Yeah.
I pay half price.
Well, I mean, you may have been able to get her down to a different price just by haggling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a deal's a deal.
You were pretty close. Played a good game.
As I'm not very adept, that's the first time I've used those darts, so I didn't truly expect to win. But they are interesting to throw.
Well, they do pack a punch.
Since you do carry other fishing supplies, could I buy just a standard kit of like a fishing tackle? Because I don't actually have one of those.
Sure, just a standard like starter's kit with lures, hooks.
Yeah.
Sure. That'll. And she kind of like she brings a few boxes up. There's like a really simple box, and then there's like the ultra deluxe like everything you could possibly need thing. And she goes, I'm not sure any of this is suitable for dragon turtles, but if you're looking for some normal lake fishing, any of these will do.
I'll take your most basic one. I don't need anything fancy.
That's just 3 gold.
And I just hand over the 3 gold.
All right. She hands you that, so you can just add fishing tackle to your inventory.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
John, what was the name of the magic store?
Honest Illusions.
Oh, okay. And what was the shopkeep name here?
Here,
Yeah.
Arya Kovac.
Has she even said her name?
No, but
Oh, okay. Well, regardless, I'm
I've
gonna
learned
find
with you motherfuckers to always have a name.
out. Have you heard of any strange ongoings at the closet? Oh, shit, I forget the name. Brenna, help me out here. I'm too old for this. What was the name of the magic store? Shit, you're too old for this.
Make a history check. Yeah, you can't remember what it was. You look to the party and they're like, it's this, and then you're like, okay, and then you turn to Arya and you're like, fuck, well, shit.
You know, the one nice guy. Weird fellow was running it for a bit, breaking in.
Honest Illusions?
Honest Illusions, that's the one.
Not sure. What do you mean, odd goings on?
Well, it seemed to be a an odd character keeps breaking into this man's store and posing as a vendor, trying to peddle his goods.
Sounds like whoever owns Honest Illusions needs a better lock on their door.
Have you had any attempted break-ins recently? Or?
No one would be stupid enough to break into my establishment.
Fair enough.
And like she looks around, there's just like bows and arrows everywhere.
Have you heard any talk in the town? Anything?
No, I mean I'm pretty busy with my business, so I haven't been down that way in quite some time. It's a costume shop, isn't it?
It is.
I usually don't have need for such things, so I find myself down there rarely. But if that's the case, somebody breaking in, should definitely report to the guards.
Yeah, we promised the fellow there we'd take a look into it for him. Where is the nearest tavern that we can find some answers?
Well, the nearest tavern that will be more friendly to your kind is going to be the Tattered Cape on the east side of town. That's where you guys stayed before. It's kind of where most of the outsiders come to gather and word is traded around. But if you're looking for somewhere that's more of the business folk here in this district, more orcs from the tribes here, the Drunken Square is a good one, and she kind of like leans across and kind of points out the window, and like it's just across the street. But there aren't that many taverns here in Tal'cratis, so those are going to be your two best bets. If you're looking to overhear something.
Oh, shit. 1 sec.
Hey, drop that. More that zipper. More that zipper?
Where's she getting a zipper?
I don't know.
Jesus, fucking idiot.
There's nowhere that has a zipper.
Well, obviously now, because she took it.
I'm just thinking. Is dumb and like see anything.
Don't eat metal. Just don't eat metal. Not that hard. Don't do it. Try it.
This is too good.
God.
What the fuck?
Sorry.
So yeah, she points you to the tells you about the Tattered Cape, which you guys are familiar with because you were there. And then the other location was just kind of like more for more of the patrons are orcish and like people from Tal'cratis and the surrounding clans, is a tavern called the Drunken Square.
Okay. Gotcha. Alright. Thank you.
Well, if there's nothing else, it's pretty late. I'm going to be closing up shop.
Alright.
Thank you for the business and the game. I haven't played darts in quite some time.
It was nice. I haven't either.
Lock your doors.
She kind of like chuckles. And like as she's leading you all outside, when you say that, she kind of like jokingly like looks left and right on the street, like, and then closes the doors. And you hear a.
He was in a threat. Lock your doors.
Alright, I would like to pick one out. I guess we should probably go find somewhere to stay for the night.
Oh
Yeah, there was that inn that she mentioned that would be friendly to us.
Yeah, let's head there.
It's where you guys stayed before when you were here.
Yeah.
And what was the name of that?
10 out of 10.
I tell you once, then you got a history check to remember. So, where do you guys want to head from here?
It's the Tattered Cape, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go there.
Okay.
Okay. So you guys make your way back to the Tattered Cape. As you walk in, you see the familiar old man Rainier behind the bar, kind of serving several people. It's relatively like filled in here, it being the end of the week. Yeah, there's all sorts of people kind of shuffling around. There's 2 or 3 different waiters now, like serving people at tables. And you're kind of seen as you walk in and just kind of holds a hand up to signal you, and he goes, "Oh, you made it back. How was the trip to Igdan?"
It was eventful.
That it was.
Well, hopefully in a good way, but glad you made it back in one piece. So, what can I do for you?
I'll take a room to spend the night.
Sounds about right.
You're looking for one? Well, you've been here before, you're good customers. It'll just be a gold each for the night.
Okay.
Noted.
Done.
Was there?
It is done.
Oh, sorry. Out of curiosity, did a orcish man named Riley come here at all?
The Red Walker.
Yes.
Yes, he's one of the more sociable of the group. He's come by a few times, not today, but I think it was several days ago before he set out towards Igdan. He came by for a drink before they headed out.
Okay. Never mind then.
So, hungry, thirsty.
All the above.
All right,
Yes.
well, and he kind of like he begins like bringing out some drinks for all of you. You're like included with your room tab. And he makes sure you guys are served properly, as you wish. Looking around the room, you don't see any particularly familiar faces, but there's like a good mix of people in here. Like probably 50 to like 45% are orc, and the rest are kind of like mix of humans, some like half-breed people. Yeah. And he kind of leans over, like as he brings the drinks out for everybody, he kind of leans over and he goes, "So, I've noticed you looks like you've stocked up on a few things." And he kind of like looks to all of you that have either missing items or like new items that you've acquired since you were last here, and he goes, "Looking to set out?"
There we are.
Are we leaving tomorrow or is it the next day? I think it's the next day because we have business in town.
Yes.
Well, what's the world got in store for you next?
Nothing good. Likely.
Violence.
Like he's hearing this, he's like looks very concerned around to the group.
Hixus is pretty, because the halberd's in the shop getting that trip buff. So he's pretty fidgety and just kind of like looks up and he's like, "I don't know what to do with my hands."
Just sitting like this.
Are you looking for something to sharpen?
He's like, he kind of contemplates for a moment. He's like, the boot dagger's best left dull. Wouldn't want it sliding around in there.
That's fair.
You say that, and Renier kind of looks over and he goes, "I'm not quite sure what you mean, but that seems like a good turn of phrase."
You don't keep a knife in your boot? And Hicks kind of like looks around the table, like, "None of you have boot knives?"
I have boot fists.
That's fair. Like Hicks like turns to Marley, like pauses for a second, turns to Marley, and he's, "That's fair."
I haven't been able to tie my boots in maybe 15 years.
There could be a knife in there. Who knows?
You look down and just wearing sandals.
You're clever, old man.
I don't know if that's the word I'd use.
I wouldn't either.
Any word around town about break-ins?
Break-ins, now they're usually pretty few and far between here. but not impossible. I haven't heard any of breaking and entering lately. Why, have you heard something?
Yeah, Tal'cratis, help me out.
What are you looking for now?
The store, it's with an illusion, the dishonest,
God.
the honest illusion.
There you go.
That's the one.
Was there a break-in at Honest Illusions?
Well, there seems to be a scoundrel of sorts breaking in and trying to sell off their goods as magical items.
Someone that doesn't work for this place.
Precisely.
Well, have
He's
you?
an odd fellow.
Do you know who he is? Have you seen him or talked to him? Or
We have. He tried to sell us
He looks
many.
like while he's trying to describe him, use minor illusion to conjure an image of like the guy's face. Like he looks like.
do you remember what he looks like?
He had a
He's
face.
a half elf.
You can make
Yeah.
a history check if you want to recall
Yeah.
his face.
Yeah.
You guys didn't spend a ton of time with him.
It was a half elf, right?
It was not.
Oh.
It was an orc, I believe, right?
14. Yeah. He was a orcish man with a braided beard, and like a fine purple cloak that he had on. He kind of like leans in and like adjusts his glasses as he's looking at the illusion. And a couple of the other patrons at the bar kind of like they see Marleon doing this and kind of like lean over and look at what he's projecting. And let me find it here. Fuck, I reorganized everything. He leans in and he goes, "Oh, really? This is the man that was breaking into Honest Illusions?
Yes.
This is very disappointing. This is it's a gentleman I know, and he's a bit down on his luck. He hasn't had a home, I think, in about 6 or 7 months. His name's Olur, and he's a vagrant in these parts. His house had been struck by lightning and had been burned down months ago, and nobody had the funds or ability to help him rebuild, and he was already not too well off. But using his parlor tricks and little magic he knew, he made his way for a while, and recently, I suppose, he hasn't been doing so well. But the last I thought, he had headed off south to go learn magic with the best of them down at there's a university at Kingsgate in the south by the capital. He told me last time I saw him that he had applied and was going to move down there as soon as he can, but if he's still around town, I'm not sure what that means."
The name was Allure?
Olur. O-L-U-R. He's
Where
a
was this
perf-
academy?
Kingsgate is a city far to the south. If you just to the southeast of Valax's Cauldron, on the northern slope of the Grey Cliffs, heading to the capital. There's a famed university down there. That's they have a college, I suppose, that he talked about that can teach all sorts of different arcane practices, and he was very excited to go learn there, and he was very hell-bent on moving there and learning, and I wonder what happened to that.
Me too.
But I haven't seen him in weeks, so if he's breaking in, he's trying to make himself not known, I suppose. I hope he's all right, though. He's a good man. It's disheartening to hear this.
Is he one to pose a threat, or?
I don't think he would harm a hair on anyone's head. Never been violent. He's never been coarse to anyone. Maybe a bit misguided, sure, at times, but who
Do you
is
know
it?
where we can find him?
Well, since he lost his home, the most common place he's been staying is there's an alcove south of the city, along the road. maybe 5 or 6 miles south of here, on the way south. Like I said, I haven't seen him in weeks. He could be anywhere.
Well, he was just in town just a few hours ago.
Yeah.
And he can't be far from here. Well, if you do run into him, try and maybe, if he's breaking into places, like I said, he's a good man, but maybe try to talk some sense into him. He doesn't deserve jail time for these kind of things. He, like I said, I've never seen him turn violent or coarse to anyone. There must be an explanation for it.
Everyone deserves a second chance.
Indeed.
I wouldn't trust Saurad to give me a second chance, that's for sure.
Well, if you've been around him for as long as I have, it's a problem. But perhaps alerting the guards until you know what's going on more fully. If he's in a desperate place, may not be the best idea.
How is your experience with the guards?
Mine's been fine. The city guards are much more socialized and less ingrained in the oath as the actual Red Walkers, so no complaints here. They do a good job keeping the city safe. They're relatively fair. Very few instances of misguided arrests or anything of this sort, so can't complain too much. But that scene the other day of the Red Walkers executing that man in the gate.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but I heard about it. That's very out of the ordinary. I know that the Red Walkers take extreme measures with bandits and marauders and the such, but a common mugger? I can't imagine that Sarah would have ordered that.
Well, he did it himself.
He kind of looks down when you say that and he goes, "This is very strange. I've been here for the better part of my entire life, and Saurad's been in charge of the Red Walkers for the majority of that, and it doesn't fit his MO. He's not the kindest fellow, but it's not like him."
Would you be nervous about asking the guards for any sort of assistance these days?
Not necessarily. The only reason I suggest not speaking to the guards about Allure is because, like I said, if he's in a dark enough place to be doing this, I'd just be worried about him hurting himself if he knows the guards have found out. But in terms of if I were to ask for advice or protection or anything like that, the worst response you'll get from the guards is apathy. But then in that of itself isn't painful or harmful.
Right. Thanks for the information.
Of course.
I could use a drink.
Same.
Alright, another round. And he turns back to the tap and fills up some more ales and pushes them forward to you guys.
John, I don't know how this works, if this is like an ability or more of a role-playing thing, but as a bard, if I play music, I get room and board for free.
Yeah. So if they have you have to talk to the shopkeep, or to the innkeeper, but I'm gonna say roll a perception check real quick.
Sure.
Yeah, looking around, as you do usually try to offer your services as payment for staying places, you look around, there's not really like a stage or a performing area here. It seems like a pretty small establishment in terms of venue.
Oh,
And well, you could ask him about it. It's probably not like a music performance kind of place like this.
yeah, I'll just bust out the fiddle and play for the group.
Okay, so Pate whips out a fiddle. I don't know if any of them have seen your fiddle yet. No pun intended.
When you put it like that.
Can't whip that fiddle on in the middle of this place, man.
Let's see. Do I just do a performance?
Performance, yeah, if you just want to play.
Could I assist him by using minor illusion to create like a background, like audio, like a drum or something like that?
Sure, yeah, like Marleone on percussion. Let's get the whole fucking band together here.
Right.
Hey, I got a harmonica. Hixus, use your hands. Alright. Wait, so do I have advantage?
If you're being assisted by, I would say, 2 people would have to assist you because no one else is musically talented, to my knowledge.
Not nearly as good as me.
So if Marleone's helping, and if you do like hand Hixus an instrument, he help, or anyone else.
I wouldn't.
Okay. You like hold the harmonica forward, and Hixus just like looks at it.
That's okay. And I toss it to Verna. Harmonica.
I don't play.
God damn it, Peg.
Peg just looks at you and just goes,
Alright. I'll do it myself. Can I do both?
What about Outrun?
If no one else does, Verna will be like, fine.
a fiddle and a harmonica?
Yeah.
How?
I don't know, like one of those one-man...
Do you have like the pop?
I don't think you don't have the thing, do you, for the harmonica?
Verna can just hold it.
Let's try that.
You could hold one note, I guess.
I'm just gonna keep moving back and forth. Like, I'll just hold it and use.
It's like corn on the cob.
Alright, just fucking roll a performance with advantage.
Alright.
Like, enough people holding your harmonica for you. 26. Yeah, so Pate starts just shredding away on this fiddle, and Verna's holding the harmonica in front of his mouth while Marleone creates an illusion of drums kind of like beating in the background of the room. And the whole tavern kind of like starts, you kind of like see a few people starting to bob to the music, and like they start looking around, and as you kind of take a stroll around the tavern as you're playing, I'm assuming you like moving around.
Yeah.
People kind of like start like clanging their drinks down on the table and stuff, like to the beat of the music that's been going. Everybody kind of like cajoles in on it. You get like the whole tavern kind of going together.
Oh yeah.
You reach like the crescendo of the song. Everybody kind of like raises up their glasses and like cheers each other, like ale flying everywhere. Yeah, and as you finish the song, people are all like clapping and cheering, and Verna like takes the harmonica away from your mouth, and you're able to like bow in for everybody. And some people throw like just like pelting you with like copper and silver. You managed to gather about 8 or 9 gold worth of change of people just like throwing it.
Nice.
Well,
There you have it.
another drink.
Yeah, people are just like you walk up to the bar and somebody's like, "Let me get it for you." And, like it's like slides you an ale.
Thank you, sir. You're far too kind.
It's like you can tell it's like been a while probably in this place since they've had like music.
Ooh, I have a simple drum. We can form a band, guys. I have so many instruments.
You literally have enough instruments to be a band. Like when I rebuilt your character sheet, I was like, "What the fuck? Why does Dean so many goddamn instruments?"
Are there any like? I guess I haven't looked at bard spells very much, but I know in like previous editions there were like bard cantrips, like animate instrument or like create instrument for like, a short period of time.
There's one spell, animate objects. That's a is it a 5th level spell? You could use it on an instrument, and it becomes something that can fight for you.
Oh my god.
But it's not exclusive to instruments. You could do it on like inanimate objects too.
That's
Or,
awesome.
like any other thing.
Dang.
All right. By the way, let's see, Verna, you should have your crossbow in your notes now, your handouts.
I'm also gonna go find a quiet place because I want to pass find familiar and check familiar.
Which familiar are you finding?
I'm gonna go for a cat.
For a cat?
Yeah.
All right. So you can since you guys have rooms, you can head there if you want.
Yeah.
And you gotta open your window and as you cast a spell, a cat leaps up onto the windowsill. And it's got the arcane shine to its eyes like the other ones do.
Sweet. It's named Cat.
It was sitting there waiting for you to give it a name. As you say, "Welcome, cat." It just jumps down into the room. So, how do you guys want to spend the rest of the night? Just carousing with people in the bar, or?
Yeah, I want to have a good meal, eat some food, drink some drinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds solid.
The headquarters for the Sanguine Order that's in town, is that at the edge of town or is that in the middle?
Well, there's where Saurad and the where his offices kind of are, they're near the council chambers in the middle of town.
Okay, so
but as far as a training ground for them, when you first came to the city, and I don't know if I explained it well enough, but when you first came to the city, when they were talking about it, the Sanguine Order kind of trains and barracks as people on the mountain that the city's built under. So it's on the far side of the mountain around the back, is where the order itself is kind of centered. But he kind of resides in the city because he needs to communicate with the council and everything.
Okay. And then something that we didn't, at least not yet, because we haven't been dying, is go to, there's what's the proper name for it? A religious place of worship. There was somewhere across from the inn, I thought. It was a really weird looking building, I thought.
That was in Clanigdon.
Oh, that wasn't Clanigdon? Okay.
That was the Temple of Maiar.
Okay. I thought that was here.
Yep. The silver building.
I'm gonna ask the bartender. Is there a church of sorts, and someone who runs that somewhere nearby?
Well, it depends what deity for the church you're looking for. Most people here either worship Maiar or Unja. But there's not a lot of places of worship. They're more shrines outside of town that people personally go to and produce offerings. But there is a temple to Maiar in Clanigdon. If you were there, it's hard to miss. Here there is a worship site to Unja at the summit of the mountain. You can make the trip in an hour and a half, 2 hours, for starting at the beginning of the trail. And it's not a huge mountain. It's not like Kelvin's Cairn. It's it's technically a mountain. But
if I were to require, a hypothetical situation, if I were to injure my arm very badly, is there someone here who would be able to heal that for me? I guess is my big question. I've come from the north, and up north they had a temple of Sarenrae, where a lot of people went for healing. I'm just wondering if there's something similar to that around here that I could go to.
Well, the priests of Maiar do a bit of healing, but they're not so much religious healers as those of Sarenrae. There are healers, excuse me, at the summit of the mountain that worship Unja, but for the most part, healers here are more of the natural remedy type. Bandages, herbal remedies, potions, if you will. Essentially, a clinic worker.
Okay.
The religious entities here are less structured and more personally followed in their free time, if that makes sense.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
Is there somebody's not hurt? Are they? They need
No, when I
assistance. Or...
I watched when I was up in the north at the Temple of Sarenrae. There was their priestess, or what you would call her. She was able to almost use like a form of sealing magic, and I'm looking for someone who might be able to do the same.
Well, as far as magic sealing, I suppose the summit of the mountain will be your closest bet. The followers of Maya aren't exactly they're a bit more nihilistic in terms of how they interact with people in the public. Whereas the priestesses of Unja will help if they can, but that sounds more like. And he looks to Allround. He's like, you need somebody who looks a bit more like him with some silver on them. Somebody from a follower of Bahamut, or like you said, Sarenrae, will seem to be the sealing order types.
I guess one more question before I go off to my room for the night. In Kelron, to your knowledge, is there anywhere that there would be a temple to the Raven Queen?
I'm sorry, temple to who?
The Raven Queen.
This is, and he kind of looks to the rest of the party. He's like, I'm sorry, my hearing is not very good. I don't believe I've heard of this person before. Raven Queen?
I'm gonna take that as a no.
I apologize. I'm not familiar with this
I understand.
person you speak of.
Many people aren't, so it's understandable if I don't get the answer I'm looking for in that situation. But I thank you for at least hearing my words. So, and with that, Marleone's gonna get up off the table because that was a little awkward, or off the seat. That was a little awkward. And,
Sitting on the table.
He's gonna go up to his room.
All right. What are the rest of you doing?
Start heading out as well.
You all turning in?
Well, if everyone's turning in, let's turn in.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, like, before Marleone goes to bed, he'd like to work with. Do I have herbs on my person right now? Probably not. Never mind. I don't have anything to really. I was gonna try to make antitoxin, but
Yeah.
I'd probably have to do some shopping for stuff for that one. So.
Yep.
Okay, never mind.
All right. So you guys turn in for the night. Worked out a day. So you all lay to rest for the night. Get a restful sleep, having been on the road quite a bit, camping out in different places and watching. You all managed to sleep through the night soundly. As the sunlight kind of pours through some of your windows in your rooms, you'll come to consciousness. The front of the tavern is like kind of like still messy and like kind of destroyed from the night before. Pate's music riling up a lot of the people that were having their drinks and food there. As you come out, so one of the waiters is like cleaning off some of the tables, and like it looks like a disaster in the room, but he's like smiling, and you can tell because he's like, you look over at the counter and there's like a tip can like at the end, and it's just like stuffed with like coins just like bulging out of the sides of the can and everything. So they had a pretty good night for business, as you're all kind of gathered up in the entrance to the tavern. So the day is yours.
Oh, should we head towards the docks where Allure was said to have been?
Let's do it.
Yeah. It was the docks, right?
No, it was like an alcove, basically like a underside of a cliff. I guess maybe that's the wrong word. Alcove means like coastline, doesn't it?
I think so.
Basically like not like necessarily like an old school cave, but like a protected area, like that's like an underside of a short cliff.
Ooh, like in Iceland?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, like the quote unquote cave we went to. That'd be
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess before we do that, around what time do you think the halberd and someone else is getting gear modified too, weren't they?
Yeah, I'm getting stuff.
Almost everybody had something to do there.
Yeah. Wouldn't mind picking that
He
up.
just told you to come back the next day.
Might as well head there first. See if it's ready.
Sure. So you guys want to head to Wolfswear?
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sure. So you get there. It's still morning. As you walk in, you see the owner is still like hammering away. The forge this time you see is running incredibly hot compared to the last time you were there. And Pate, you see on the cooling rack behind him, your mithril helmet that you had given him is like bright blue and steaming. It has just come out of the forge. You see the crack has been filled with this with some mithril material. The crack's outline is still visible, but like it's been filled and sealed. But the material that's filled it is like not as old and aged as the rest of the helmet. And so it's still visible, but it's like all one piece now, and it's like sitting there. And there's like a small drip somewhere like on the ceiling that hits it and it immediately just vaporizes. That it like just came out of the forge. As the rest of you see, let's see, your bagpipes are hanging next to those on the wall. You see that they're polished and like back to their original state, and the bag has been kind of like slow washed and seems like cleaned out.
Nice.
The helmet is there. You already have the studded leather, I'm pretty sure. Because you bought some, right? You bought studded leather for 30 gold.
Yes, I bought that and a better rapier?
You decided not to. You said I'll sleep on it.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't record that I took down the leather.
Yeah, so if you subtracted the gold, then you should have studded leather in your inventory.
Okay. How can I add that to my inventory? Is there like an
Just-
armor slot?
Type it in there.
Oh, okay.
In like your equipment, like on your main page.
Yep.
And then that changes your AC. There's a table for the AC in the player's handbook if you just look it up in the information, the SRD.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you said you looked at the rapier, but you decided not to then. Hexus, your polearm is up against the wall. You see it's been kind of like trimmed down. The normally like large elliptical blade that comes out has been like shortened to this like trapezoidal kind of like straight cut blade to it, and the large spear end has been kind of like shaved down to this really, really sharp, fine, almost needle end to it. The handle has been carved out, and there's branches of like bound pine in it now. It's kind of like lightened the handle of the halberd itself. And I think that's everything that people had coming for them. So he sees you walk in, and he's pushing the bellows down, and you see him kind of lock him up. He sees you, and as he looks over, you see there's like big back. As he walks over to the counter, and he goes, "Oh, good morning. Looks like I've got most everything done for you. If you'd like to take a look at some of it, I'm pretty proud of it. Some of my best work." Like turns around and goes to the rack. Looks at the helmet for a moment. He goes, "That might need some time, but here." And he takes the halberd off and the bagpipes, and puts them over the counter to you guys. I'm pretty sure you guys already paid for them.
Yeah.
So I will add the halberd to your thing.
I guess while everyone's kind of getting their stuff, Marleon's gonna switch the fishing line, the iron 300-pound line for the spider silk line.
Okay.
Since it shouldn't take too long.
All right.
John, I'm just gonna use after the long rest.
You cut out. What'd you say?
I'm just gonna roll my 2 d20s after the long
yeah.
rest.
Yep.
Nice.
So he kind of like he lays them out. Let's see, Hixus, you should have your thing now.
All right.
Wolfswear halberd, and yeah, he looks to Peyton. He goes, "It's just gonna need about another hour and a half to cool down. Then I should be able to temper it again in some oil, and should be good to go."
Sounds good.
I haven't run the forge that hot in years. And you looking over, you see like some of the stone on the outside is even starting to like turn kind of pink from like the heat. And he's like, "I don't know if I could run that for another day, but I stayed up all night working on that, and that's quite a piece of hardware you found."
Thank you.
Out of curiosity, where's it from? It looks pretty old.
Well, I believe we were out, traveling. You come across these things.
Well, you'll have to point me in that direction sometime, because it's quite a relic you have in your hands.
Thank you. Looks like you've done a fine job.
Thank you. It's, like I said, some of my proudest work. You, sirs, have you interested in anything else? I know you were looking at a rapier, my friend, and...
One sec. I'm gonna check the player's handbook.
Alright.
I know I can use long swords. I can use long swords. I don't know which is better.
Rapiers are dexterity based.
Yeah,
Oh,
Rapier's
okay.
got the finesse feature, so that's probably the weapon of choice.
Mm-hmm.
Or can you use short swords too? I guess well, no, Rapier's just better. Does more damage. Same damage type.
Yep.
How much was that rapier?
If you're just looking for one of my standard baseline rapiers for the ones that I make, it's going to be 25.
Okay.
But I assure you that they're better than anything else you'll find at a standard run-of-the-mill blacksmith in the south. And that was the one that he showed you, is like more finely balanced than the one you. He
Yeah.
goes, "If you want to trade in the steel for your current rapier, I can knock 10 off the price."
Deal?
It's 25.
Yeah.
Sure. And he so you hand your rapier over, and he picks the one off the shelf. He runs it through a real quick. It kind of like grinds off the oxidation on the blade a little bit.
Yep.
Wipes it down with an oilcloth and hands it over to you. And he goes, "I know you were saying you're looking for something. Specifically, I think you said if somebody tries to kill you, you want to kill them first. So, somebody's charging at you. I think this should do the trick. It's quick on the draw. And somebody decides they decide to charge you, they're going to be in some trouble here." And, he hands it over to you, and here I will add it to your thing. Should be in your treasure now.
Cool. Where'd I find treasure?
It's like in the thing that looks like a newspaper, in the tab, the handout section. I just reclassified the folder that it's in.
Oh, okay. Ah, nice.
Huh? They added a new weapon.
So it does same damage? I don't have to change
Same as a
that.
normal. So yeah, since it's just a standard rapier, but then it's got that modifier at the end.
Okay, cool. Oh, nice. Sweet.
Well, yeah, like I said, just about an hour and a half. This will be cool. Anything else for y'all?
looking around, is there? I'm sure there's like melee weapons of all kinds, more or less.
Yeah, there's like a pretty good assortment.
Okay. I guess if there's a warhammer, I would probably pick up one of those just to have something else to do with my hands in the event of not having a weapon.
Just sharpen a hammer.
I was gonna ask. I was like, so would I just polish it? Can I polish?
Polish the hammer. This guy kicks so much ass. The hammers you see that he has are they're a little more simplistic in design. So like instead of having the big mallet on one side and like a counterweight or like a hook, it's literally like just like a pyramid shape that's shifted back. So like there's a sharp end to one side and like a blunt side to the other. So I don't know. You could like, oh fuck it, you just do something to it to make it, polish it up, give it a shine.
I got resin. We'll get it nice and shiny. Makes it do more damage.
You looking to just pick up like a standard one?
Yeah, unless are there any other ones of note other than the standard ones?
Well, I could commission one for you if you're looking for something that can perform a little better. Warhammers aren't my specialty. I usually do blades. But if you're gonna be around, once this helmet's done cooling, I have some other commissions to finish, and tomorrow morning I could have something ready.
No, that's all right. For hammers, the simpler the better, I think.
It's the way that I look at it. So just a standard hammer is going to... where is that? This one will run you 15 gold.
All right, take it.
All right, so he hands one over to you. So it'll be 15. It's still stylized like a lot of the other weapons, like his, but it's just a standard warhammer.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So you'll have to add that to your inventory.
Yeah, add that in there. Wait, 2 pounds? Manageable.
Yeah, we're pretty much not doing carrying weight unless it's like excessively crazy.
Oh, okay.
Just to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm not gonna have the backpack of great swords.
If you're carrying like Marleone's got his bag and this thing on his back, he can't also like have a third bag probably, but
Okay.
I'm not like weighing each item individually because that just gets spreadsheety.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
But that's good. As long as no one abuses it. In my Pathfinder group, I guess I'm a scion, and I was discussing with the fighter if he would be comfortable carrying a bag of great swords for me to throw.
Just fucking, what's the just beer me that sword.
Yeah.
So he kind of showcases some of like the high-end swords that he's commissioned for the Red Walkers, and like there's ceremonial swords that he's done for them as well, and he kind of shows you guys around the shop for a little while. But eventually the helmet is cool enough that he picks it up off the rack. And you see he takes it with like a tongs, and he puts it down, and there's this bucket of like pure kind of like silvery oil that he dunks it into, and it just immediately steams up and like bubbles in the oil for a few minutes and cools down. He pulls it out, and all the oil just like slaws off immediately. And this helmet's got this nice light blue sheen to it, not nearly as bright as before because it was like almost molten, but it's got that light blue kind of mithril alloy sheen to it. And he hands it over to Pate, and I'll add it to your thing now.
Sweet. Ooh. Nice. Put that shit on.
I don't think you have anything else in your head slot currently equipped.
No, I don't think so. How would I check?
There's no like defined system for equipping it, but like just depending on what you have. So like you couldn't wear like this and like a circlet.
Yeah.
Right. Or like,
yeah.
Yeah. Or like this helmet probably wouldn't work with like glasses of some kind.
Gotcha.
But if it was just like a hat, you could probably wear glasses.
Nice.
But this is like, so Pate puts it on. It's like a full like dwarven helmet, like the section in the middle that comes down. And it kind of comes around his whole head, just like completely envelops him.
Nice.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's reminding me of the Pros ED thing where he's like, "What the fuck are you wearing?" He's like, "This is my ass kicking outfit." So, is there anything else?
I think that's good for me.
Yes.
All right, well, you've all been great customers. You're welcome back anytime.
Duly noted.
And if you excuse me, I have a lot of other commissions to get back to work on. He kind of like yawns and stretches a little bit again and like gets back to the forge.
Where were we off to again, Pate?
An alcove. The alcove. The
Can always
singular alcove.
Can always make a history check.
It was the one that was
What
like-
was it?
It was the one that was like 5 miles to the southeast, right?
There it is.
That's the one.
Cramp Grams. Well, I gotta remember everything for you.
Give him a pat. I always got your back, buddy.
Your gauntlet just clangs on his head. He's wearing a helmet now.
Alright, I guess onwards we should go.
So as you guys walk out of the Wolf's Wear blacksmith, you kind of make your way across town back towards the gate. You see Riley walking in from the gate, walking towards the council chambers, and he kind of like makes eye contact with you. And you see he's like bandaged up from like all the injuries that he had over the last couple of days, but he's looking a little more intact. And he kind of like sees you and like walks over, like breaks his path off and comes over towards you guys hurriedly, and kind of like stops you in the street and goes, "Oh, hey, I was looking for all of you. Saurad's asked for an audience with you. He sent one out last night, but I figured you could all use some rest for the night. If it's not any trouble, typically earlier the better. He's there right now."
Okay.
Team huddle?
Team huddle.
Alright, team.
So you guys take a moment to step back, and he's like respectful, like you can see he's like glad to see you guys. And he like gives you a moment and just kind of backs off for a minute. He's still like standing around though.
Are we thinking that he wants to ask about the Night Stalker?
Oh, almost undoubtedly, I would think that, yeah. He's going to want to know everything.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we got paid now. What's the harm in talking? I guess I look at that as, who am I kidding? I feel like it's still probably better that we keep we keep a tight lip on at least certain aspects of what happened.
As Marleone says, we got paid now. You all hear this voice come from like the side of the group. It's like Soren pops his head into the group and goes, "You guys got paid?" As you see, he's like just rode in from the gate on
Just,
Auron's horse.
Muscle spasm punch him.
On
like I
donkey.
didn't see him there.
Oh yeah, no, he's on Oak. That's right. It's just like, you guys got paid?
No, they got paid. They got me.
Paid?
Yes.
Oh. You guys get paid though. You got to come in.
Oh, yeah. As soon as we do. That's for sure.
Somebody probably has. One of you probably has an extra amount of good.
I was gonna say, I thought we assumed that we were cutting him in, and we're just kind of like.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just fucking.
Oh, okay, all right.
But that'll be like, so when he comes back, that's got to be the joke. It's like somebody's got to talk about how like rich you guys are, and then he's like pulling his pockets inside out, and he's like, "What?" And then Hicks is gonna be like, "Oh yeah, here's your cut."
So, I guess Yigdan wasn't exactly clear with whether or not he wanted to maintain his anonymity after the fact, but I would imagine that he would have wanted to kept it.
I feel as though we'd make an enemy if we, after getting paid, kind of spilled the beans that he's the one who hired us.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I won't be doing any of the talking. Yeah, don't worry about me spilling anything.
Okay.
Hope it wasn't too big of a problem last time with Yigdan. I just felt it was necessary.
Perhaps this can be a job that we definitely volunteered to do. Out of goodwill.
I am more than willing to speak as well. All right.
All right.
Is this our plan of attack? Can we break?
Yep.
Okay.
You guys
Sorry
kinda-
for the horrific screeching. My chair is so sweet.
It's alright, -2.
I'll be right back. Just 1 minute. You guys keep going.
Alright. So Riley kind of sees you breaking up out of your huddle, and he goes, "Are we good?"
Yeah. We can.
Yeah.
We can go meet with Saurad.
Great. Yeah, if you just follow me, I'll take you to his chambers. And he kind of guides you like towards the council chambers again, but this time like taking a left past them. And you see there's this like deep red, kind of like almost like fortified building up against the wall of the corner. It's like relatively small for being like the headquarters of the Red Walkers. There are banners of the Red Walkers hanging down from the sides as he brings you guys to the entrance of the building itself. He opens the door and he kind of nods for you to enter in. And he goes, "If you guys need anything when you're done, I'll just be out here."
All right.
Sounds good.
Let me change this music real quick.
Really hot.
Oh, wait.
All right, we'll wait for Alar to get back. Just want to make sure everybody's here.
What's going on?
Understandable.
So basically, the party was leaving the blacksmith, and Riley, the Red Walker that you guys saved from the giants and everything, kind of stopped the party and said, "Saurad wants to have an audience with you guys, like in less asking terms and more like you're going to have an audience with Saurad." And he guided you guys. Had a team huddle for a second. Soren popped in on Oak coming back from cleansing Dawn, and you guys kind of decided. I don't know exactly what you decided, but you decided some things, and then kind of followed Riley to the headquarters. Now he's let you into the room. Walking into the this kind of like relatively small building. There's a short hallway in front of you, and there's a set of double doors that are currently open, leading into kind of like a larger room with a big table in the middle of it. To each side, you see there's a slightly ajar door, one that goes into like a supply closet of some kind, and the other one has the symbol of the Red Walkers on it. Once again, there's like an elaborate door that's closed that has Saurad's name across the front of it. However, through the double doors in front of you, on the other side of the table, you do see Saurad in his, not his full armor or anything, but like kind of like his stripped down like under armor area where like he's got like the straps and the pauldron holders and everything on, but the plates have been taken off and they're on a stand in the side of the room. He's standing perpendicular to you guys. With his left side to you, as he seems to be interacting with something on the far side of the room. It's hard to tell at this distance, but as the door closes behind you, and Riley leaves you in the building with Saurad, kind of turns his attention to you and he goes, "Please come in." So he kind of beckons you guys to enter the room.
All right, sure.
As you guys walk in, I will shift the thing. You see the room as you walk in is adorned wall to wall with maps, and the table itself has a large map scrolled out along the side of it. Several of them are stacked in the corners, and there are just several chairs put around this table in the center. It's low sitting table, very like heavily built, and it's got a shelf underneath that's got dozens of scrolls stuffed underneath it. There's a cat somewhere in the room meowing incessantly.
I knew that was
No, there's on the sides of the table, you see there are these two troughs that hold the sides of the scroll, and the map that's printed out on it can be scrolled one way or another to kind of like change its position, and there are various figurines and markings on the map. Looking closer as you walk up to the table, you see that they're like representations of different squads of Red Walkers. There are marching orders laid out on the table as well in Orcish. As he kind of sees you all walk in, you notice the thing that he's interacting with is this elaborate kind of brass like device in front of him. It's got multiple valves like coming off each direction. And he seems to be just he's opened the top up and he's pouring water into this kind of like tank that centers up the middle of the device. He looks at you and he goes, "Please have a seat." And there's like enough chairs for you all to sit. It's kind of like still like a small huddled table, but this is not like a big grandiose room. This seems to be like a war room for planning, and it's not like it's like clean and like well kept, but it's not like royal by any means. So you guys all want to sit around the table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of like you can tell his stance is kind of still like shoulders back, chest up. And as he's preparing whatever this is, you see him reach around to the left side of this device and open up. There's a clear glass jar with a large cork on the top, and he kind of pops it off. And you see him reach his hand in and pull out two like flower heads that seem to be like filling up this jar. They're these kind of like dark crimson, like rose colored flower heads. Just they look like rose flowers. They've been cut off, so it's just the head. And he takes two of them and he plops them into this brass containment unit. And he closes the top and kind of like screws it down. And you see the whole thing almost like collapse like down one section. There's 3 sections to it. And it kind of like closed it on itself. And he takes a small match out from the side of it and lights a fire underneath. And you hear water start to boil inside of this contraption. As he turns around to all of you and pulls a chair out himself and sits at the table with all of you. Kind of leans back in the chair, crosses his legs and looks at you and he goes, "So I'm curious." And he looks around to like the whole party in front of him and he goes,
I was like lean back in my chair and just kind of have my arms folded.
mm-hmm. He goes, "What do you think of me?" And he looks for like a reaction around the table.
I'm staying straight-faced.
You have kind of a quizzical look.
Why do you
Concerned of your own image?
Sorry, say that again.
Concerned about your own image?
Not concerned, but curious. At my core, my highest aspirations, who do you think I am?
I think you are a
Determined.
man looking to protect your people.
In a way. Determined.
Aye.
Am I here to lead the people of Tal'cratis? Are you to inform their lives as their leader? And he sits back and like you see like looks for a response from the group. And as he sits back, you see the device behind him, like 2 of the valves like pop out, these little like sliders. He sits up, he turns around and pushes 2 of them in and pulls 2 different valves out. And there's like various puffs of steam coming out of this device, like different levels of water going up and down. And he turns back to the group and he goes, "No, I'm not here to lead people or inform them in any way. I'm here to keep them alive and safe. That's why my father and his mother and her father took the red path. You've seen many of my walkers have as well. I'm here to fight a war. And at that, you see all the valves on the machine kind of pop out for a moment, and then slowly sink back in. And he stands up from his chair. He walks over, and you see he takes the top section off of this brass, and it's actually, you notice now, it's like a kettle. As he pours out several glasses of what seemed to be like a thinly red-colored tea. He pours, how many people we got? 7 here? So seven glasses of tea. And he takes them like one by one and puts them around the table next to each of you. And he takes one for himself. And he sits back in his chair and looks at all of you again and sips on the tea in front of him. And he goes, "Have any of you fought in a war?"
Aye.
He looks towards Hexus and kind of nods a little bit.
Depends on your definition of war.
Well, if you fought in one like it, perhaps you can answer this question then. What's more worthy of concern to you? An enemy that is stronger than you, or an enemy that you don't understand? And he just casually, like, as he's asking this, he's like sipping the tea in front of him. And like any of you that have it in front of you, it smells pretty good. Like it seems like a very nice brew of tea.
I'll take a sip.
Roll a perception to see what his reaction is when he's drinking it. If he looks like he's like trying to hold back any form of like, I don't know,
Sure.
pains.
That'd be insight.
Okay.
Yeah. And Arond, yeah, as you sip it, like it's amazing. Like it's brilliantly tasteful tea. It's got like hints of rose and like a nice smooth kind of finish to it. It's not harsh. It's like a beautiful brew. Inside 18. He doesn't seem to be holding anything back as he's sipping on it. And you did notice as he poured all the glasses from the same tank.
Okay.
And so as he asks that question out to you, he kind of looks around the table and he looks to Hexus and he goes, "You've been in a war? Which is it?"
Well, I guess I don't know if we established a name for it. Top of my head, like out of character, but I guess.
Oh, like the war that you were in?
Yeah, the war.
I don't know. The battle, the battle is fine enough. Like the battle of West Hill.
Was in more than a few squabbles between nobles, rich folk. Don't know if I'd call it full-fledged war, but battles were real enough.
Right, so which would you say is more worthy of your concern? An enemy that clearly outmatches you, is stronger than you, better with a blade? Or that which you can't tell, one that you don't understand, is unpredictable?
Speaking of that, I guess, as long as we're here, can I use that, out of combat know your enemy feature?
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry. Okay, it takes a minute.
Could you put it up again so I can see it?
Oh, sorry. There we go. That's.
Imagine the enemy that you do not know, that you do not understand, would be the one of more concern.
Aye. As they say, all warfare is deception, and not understanding your enemies almost certainly a factor that will determine your loss.
By the way, which things are you looking for?
Let's go strength score and total class levels.
All right, let me. So I'll send them to you in a message.
Sure. All right.
As you say that to him, he goes, "So I would agree with. Someone that you don't understand, a threat you can't assess, has the possibility of being far more deadly than somebody that's simply more skilled than you are, even if that is significantly more. This is why marauders, raiders, pillagers that come down from the north, the mountains, and from the south, they do not strike fear into my heart, no matter how strong they are. They're an understood enemy. Tough, but understood. I've fought giants myself that easily outmatch me or my best warriors, but what wins us a battle against them is knowing them. It's why they attack, how they operate. Keeps us from being overwhelmed, and trust me, there are enough of them coming down from the north in the mountains to overwhelm us. But there is some enemy here that I do not understand. There has been a coldness over the last several weeks that I have felt on the winds, the lands that I protect. A danger I've never faced before has been permeating these highlands for the last several weeks. And while I explored its presence, I am not confident to trust anyone other than those that are willing to lay down their lives for protecting this realm, those being my Red Walkers. This is why I have kept Yovir and the Council in the dark. This is why I had you followed in Clanig Dawn. Riley informed me that you saved his life not once but twice last night. And there are not many willing to face giants to free a member of my order. There is no accord, no responsibility for common folk to save us. We know the risk we take. So I ask you this. Why didn't you leave him for dead?
Because it wasn't the right thing to do.
And why not?
Though we did think about it, to be honest.
As anyone should. It was a large risk you took.
He told us that you suspected that we could be involved. So, we proved our good faith to you by saving your men.
So you saved Riley's life at great risk to your own, in hopes that you would gain my favor and sway my opinion and possibly remove some suspicion from you of what's been going on here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good decision. We cannot navigate this world or others on our own. None of us can. To some degree or another, we need to cooperate. Whether it's with your friends, and he looks around to the party, or it's with those you do not like. And he kind of, puts his hand on his own chest. I'm not convinced that you are the cause of what's been going on here. Obviously, you were newcomers here, but we get many of those, and I do not believe, one, you have the capacity to be committing the atrocities, and two, the drive. However, you are connected to this, and this is not something that I'm sure you will even argue with. And this is where my point of contention comes to. I do not understand your connection. And you may not be my enemy. But if I do not understand you, how am I to know?
Does the name Alador mean anything?
He's been a person of interest for the last several weeks. But several days ago, we've come to a conclusion that he is more than a person of interest.
As did we.
So what is your connection to this man, and what's been going on here in the place that I've sworn to protect? You're in my territory. And when you first came here, you were asked to be forthright and honest. But obviously, everyone withholds some degree of truth for their own survival. So I've brought you here to lay it all out. You have an audience with me, not a common occurrence. Prove to me that you are not my enemy. Help me understand what's been going on.
Do we still have the shackle?
The shackle?
I think we-
Oh, the collar? No, you gave it to Yovir.
Yeah.
You have Yovir's note to his trader friend who runs a ship vouching for your integrity. That's all you got back for it, though. And the money, obviously.
So we're all sitting around like a table of sorts. Is it similar to kind of like what we have sitting on the screen right now?
That's the table, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Maleon's going to grab a bit of fleece from somewhere on his person and clasp it in his hands, and then project out an image of what would be corroded black ice, I guess would be.
Okay.
And as I do that, I'm going to say, "What do you know of black ice?"
And as you say that, he kind of frowns and looks at it, and you see him reach down below the section of the table that's next to him, and he pulls up a small piece of wrapped cloth, and there's an object inside of it that he lays down on the table, and he goes, "I didn't know very much until several days ago." And he unwraps the cloth, and you see there's a small ring with a piece of black ice inlaid in it, similar to like the same corroded material that you have projecting out right now. And he goes, "As far as I can tell, it seems to be some sort of necromantic material. Now, I had never come across this type of it before. I'd heard legends from the north, and it's under Auriel's control, and it's a natural force, but nothing of evil, pure evil nature, and until a few days ago when your friend Beacon returned to the city. The one that you released. The one that attacked the travelers on the road heading north. Whatever reason you have for releasing a criminal in my land is dwarfed by this current situation. And we'll grant that my ignorance for now. However, the reason he was executed at the gate was not because I am an exhibitionist, because I am a executioner that wishes to publicly display these kind of things. The executions happen at the point of the crime. When he came back to the city, he was found rummaging through a young man's goods. A young man that had been murdered by him. This young man was no more than 24 or 25 years old. A half-elf. And he looks at Marleone. Not unlike yourself. When we found him, he was covered in the man's blood, with the weapon supposedly used to commit the act, and was repeatedly chanting a name, Teradol, to us, over and over. This man had a sling on his back, not unsimilar to yours, and he looks to Marleone again, though it was full of hunting furs and golds that he had acquired in his trip through Valax's cauldron coming home from the south. Nothing of importance that we found, but he kept demanding for us to give him what he called the Remnant, swinging his blade at us. So I subdued him, and in that moment, he was tried according to the order, and sentenced, as I'm sure you saw. His body is still here, in the basement of the jailhouse, and because you had interaction with him, perhaps there's some light you could shed on this.
What happens if we don't?
Like I said, there is no way to navigate this world without cooperating with even those you do not like. But I would hope to believe that we are on the same side of it.
Marleon's going to take a moment of deep pondering.
Are any of you, who's drank the tea at this point? Like, be honest.
I had some.
Okay.
I just took that one sip.
Yeah.
After that, I'm leaving it there.
Okay.
I have not.
He's been sipping on it the whole time. His cup's almost gone.
Shit, we got drugged.
That's what I was testing.
Did you, Peyton Verna, did you say you guys had?
No.
No?
I did.
Okay.
Kate loves tea.
And Hexus, you said you had?
Mhm.
Okay. As a few moments pass, he's like maintaining eye contact with everyone. And he goes, "The fact that you released him is no longer important to me. He is not a common burglar, not even a common murderer. He was in a frenzy. And with everything else going on, he's part of an enemy I don't understand. Help me understand that enemy." And Allrond, Pate, Hixus make Constitution saving throws.
Oh, lordy.
Ooh, do we get a bonus because we're next to Allround?
You do.
Ah!
That's 4.
Well, yeah, because it's a small enough table.
Hey, nice.
Nice.
All right.
17 for me.
Yeah, so he just kind of leans over and goes, "Help me understand this enemy." And he's just like waiting for a response.
Tell me.
I'll insight check.
What do you want to, what are you looking
I
for?
guess we don't really. Do we notice that we make a save? I guess we don't really notice.
Nope.
What if he's like leaning forward or anything?
He's not, nothing changed. He just leaned forward and said that.
Tell me, Saurad, do you speak Primordial?
I do not. You speak Orc?
I do not. I guess one of the sayings that people say around here, or at least on this continent, is, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." And while I don't consider us friends, you're a man trying to do a job. I need you to understand that we are also people trying to do a job. God, it's gonna kill me. We're the only people with him in this room, right? There's not people stationed at the door or something like that.
Do roll perception if you want
All
to
right.
look. There wasn't anybody obvious when you walked in. Alright. Yeah, there's nobody else in here with you.
Alright.
Let's go outside.
Marleon's going to reluctantly pull the giant box off of his back and lay it on the table.
So Marleon lays out this iron-banded, cracked casing box. And even though it's cracked, open, you still can't see inside of it. It's so, thick of the casing and everything. He looks down at it and he goes, "It looks very similar to this poor gentleman that had a simple satchel on his back. And I assume your likeness and him having a similar pack triggered him to chase after this man for whatever he wanted. A remnant, as he called it.
Marleone's going to, again, do minor illusion and brush like over the box, basically the image of what would be inside of the sword.
Okay, so Marleone casts a spell, and you all see this illusion of a long sword drawn out in front of you. However, it's got like a tightly wrapped handle and a large ball weight at the bottom. However, past the guard is this jagged. It's like steel, but it's jaggedly forged and like very almost like a monstrous looking blade that comes out all the way to the end with a thick core of black ice that runs through the center of the blade all the way to the end. You see him kind of lean into it and put his hands together and inspect the illusion as you're casting it in front of him. He looks down towards the box.
This right here is that remnant that he is speaking of. And it needs to be taken to Glenmont and sealed away where it can never hurt anybody.
This remnant you speak of, what is the meaning of remnant?
I don't have...
What is a piece of something?
On our way here, on our way down from 10 Towns, we had to fight what was essentially a giant stone golem, and the entire time it spoke to me in Primordial, telling us that the remnant was not ours to keep, and that we have what it lost. I don't know what it signifies, but the longer... trying to figure out his words. Right now, the box itself is not completely sealed. When we left the north, it was sealed, but it was damaged in our encounter with the golem, and it leaks this dark energy. I'm trying to find a person who can seal it, but there doesn't seem to be...
The cold wind.
That could be what you're feeling.
I feel it now. As he looks down at the crate. Not in its full force, but a part of it. A remnant, if you will.
Oh.
So, you have a dangerous artifact in a broken casing that brings trouble with it.
As he's speaking, Marleone's going to take the box back.
Yeah. And he doesn't go for it or anything. Just lets you take it.
Yes. To put it very briefly. We are trying to get to Glenmont as safely as possible. Because they have a place there that we can safely... it can safely be disposed of and out of harm's way.
And you trust the elves of Glenmont to handle this problem?
I trust it more than the orcs of Tal'cratis. No offense meant.
No offense is taken. I do not wish for this to reside here at all. If you had told me that this was on your person, I would have personally escorted you to the south, never allowing you to enter my city.
If it was up to me, we would be going to the land of Lorand, where I can have it stored in the monastery Elfdom's Room of Feathers. But that is apparently quite a distance away, and the less harm that comes, the better.
I think there's somebody that you should speak to before you leave to go to Glenmont, which I will be expecting immediately if you are to keep this relic with you. I make no assumptions. I want it gone. Like I said, this is not a... It's not a case of personal attribution or revenge or pettiness. This is a part of something I don't understand that poses a risk to me and the people that I protect. It needs to be gone. But... And he kind of stands up from the counter and takes it, or from the table, and takes his glass, puts it next to the tea basin again, and begins, like, turns a little valve and starts filling it again slowly. And he goes, besides Beacon being found a craven murderer, we found another interesting individual. And he walks over to the door, where Riley is outside. He knocks on the door, and Riley opens the door and kind of like peeks his head in, and he nods, and he walks through the room that you're all in, kind of like side eyes you a little bit, but is like very up straight, like in order for Saurad. Walks past you and down the stairs at the far side of the room, and disappears down the stairs. And you hear this like chain shackling and like metal from underneath where he said before was like the jailhouse underneath the building. You hear him come back up slowly. There are two sets of footsteps that come up as Saurad comes back to the counter where the tea is, finished filling up, closes off the valve again, and begins drinking it once more. You see Riley enter the room with a disheveled, unshaven dwarf man that you recognize as Davric Fane, the helper who resided with Barrick Hammerstone at the summit of Kelvin's Cairn, his research assistant, and the man with the other half of the notes that Soren has on black ice. Chained up in shackles in front of him, with Riley holding the chain in front of him. He looks at all of you, and his eyes just go wide. And the first thing he says when he looks at all of you, like some of you he doesn't recognize, but he looks at Marleone and Peyton Verna and goes, "Please tell me you burned him."
Oh, it would be nice if Soren was here.
Soren's there. He clenches his teeth. He has not burned them. He has them. Has been researching them.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Who's this then?
And Sarah just turns turns back to all of you and, who is this? You may be the only people in the room that know. And he just makes direct eye contact with every person at the table.
This is Davric. He was researching and helping Barrick Hammerstone on Kelvin's Cairn devise and, I believe, help to work with black ice to create items of varying sizes and purposes. But he is someone,
sorry, go ahead,
I will add, who understood how you can eliminate black ice. And look at him and make sure that, you know, he was maybe telling us the truth back then about how it's susceptible to corruption.
Yeah, and as you say that, he kind of you see him release a little bit of tension in his shoulders, and he Davric's looking around the room, kind of panicked, and he goes, "You've got to understand that it wasn't my choice. Barrick was making me, and you are the only lot that can actually tell my story. I haven't told these Red Walker shites anything. I don't know who they are. But you..." And he looks at Verna specifically. He's like, "You understand the implication of rogue magic. The notes. The other half of the notes.
Yeah.
Tell me you destroyed them. I'll tell..." And he looks to Sarah and he goes, "I'll tell you anything you want. But I've got to know they're gone."
You got what?
He said, "I've got another gun."
Another gun?
No,
I've got to know that they are gone.
I
They
assume
are
he's talking
gone.
about the other half of the notes.
I thought I heard another gun. I'm like, huh?
Give me a gun.
No, another gun. I need two.
I don't believe they're gone.
You promised. And you left me in that room. You went to go kill Beric. And you said, we agreed that you'd destroy them.
I'm gonna look to Soren, give him a very scornful look.
And Sora's just like straight eyes fucking forward, not like trying his hardest to not address any of this. And just like has the tea in front of him. He's like, So drinking the whole thing down, like.
Okay. Oh. Marleone is going to walk over to Soren.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to pull out the Harper dagger. I'm gonna point it right at his neck.
That's Soren's neck.
Yeah.
And he like freezes for a moment.
Why didn't you burn them?
What the fuck is this?
Very accurate.
What is even happening in this?
Soren kind of sits up and goes, takes the glass down and puts it down from in front of his face and goes, there's some valuable information in those pages. He's like whispering to you. Valuable information in those pages that you saw what Beric did. He rose his cousin from the dead, Marleone, without any of the crazy fucked up side effects. Can you let that register for a moment? There's too much knowledge in this to just let it go. When have I ever led you astray?
I'm not going to acknowledge that. Marleone's gonna freaking pull the dagger away because he's right. Ugh.
You notice as you turn around from like interacting with Soren, you see Saurad, who's been leaning on the counter behind him, like watching you do this. Now has like, you're unsure when it was drawn, but there is a fully drawn longsword pointed down at the ground in his right hand, just watching you.
I'm gonna resheath my fucking dagger.
Then he just kind of leans on it with his arm.
There were valid reasons not to burn the remainder of the notes. Things that we didn't discuss with you, Davrick, because you were gone by the time we saw you again, or where we would have saw you again.
Because I assumed you'd be decent people and burn them. You gave your word.
I'm gonna... God damn it, okay. God damn it, Ben. Marleone's gonna look to Saurad. Beric was researching a way for someone to come back from the dead without being undead. To literally pull them back to life without the negative side effects.
Ugh.
And you see, when you say that, Saurad kind of squints his eyes and goes, and these are the notes that you have on your person?
Notes that he, I point to Soren, has on his person.
And Soren kind of, like, swallows his spit a little bit. Looks up.
That's why we didn't burn them. That's why I didn't burn them. It's because unlike not normal resurrection, but when you bring a person back from the dead, a lot of times they're no longer themselves. And Beric somehow found a way to bring back people without turning them into undead. Imagine any war you fought where you lost a soldier and you didn't have to worry about telling their family that they had died.
Roll a persuasion check with advantage.
Oh god. Another really bad roll. Oh, okay.
When you say, when you utter the phrase, imagine bringing back soldiers, you see his eyes kind of soften for a moment, and he looks down, like Saurad looks down at the ground. His eyes dart around. Like, every time he's looked at you, his eyes are focused, they stay in one place. For this brief moment, they dart back and forth on the ground. And then he kind of shakes his head and looks back to you and goes, I don't have to imagine. There's one other thing that happened with Beacon when we performed that execution. Like I said, his body is in the dungeon downstairs. But as I also said, he was wearing a ring of that material. And he points to the ring. It's on the table. And he goes, when we performed that execution, hours later, when we brought it down here for examination, we were examining the rest of his body besides his head. There was a brand over his heart. And he pulls a small piece of parchment off the table, and he just takes a piece of like a quill and just draws really quickly on it, and he shows you the same symbol, the cursed sigil. Yeah. And he goes, when I made contact with that, he sprung to life as if that execution never took place. He's in several more pieces now, and one of them is the finger with this ring on it. And when I struck that off, he fell limp, as a body should. You say this is a natural way to bring people back, but
I wouldn't call it natural. But it's a form of resurrection that brings a person, even if at least by a tether, back to reality without negative repercussions, at least that we've seen.
It is not our place, dwellers on this plane, to be meddling with who deserves to exist after death, who is to be recalled. We make our best judgments in the life that we're given. Beyond that, it is not our choice. Whatever these notes are, whatever this sword is, you are not my enemy, but you are close to him. Not in intent, but in your realm, in the world that you are occupying yourself in this time. And I do not wish for him or anything that he brings with him, the death, the corruption. He needs to leave. So if you think that... Sorry, go ahead.
Perhaps we can work together to get to the bottom of what's going on here.
If investigating this source of corrupted magic has brought you this much trouble, I have no desire to pursue it at the risk of my people. But what I do want is for it to leave this place. And if you think that the elves in Glenmont will solve a problem as large as this, I'm not sure there's any kind of convincing I'll be able to get through to you on. But if it gets you out of here, then I suppose I won't argue.
Well, you seem skeptical of the elves. If you were in our position, where would you go?
I am skeptical of the elves in Glenmont, not because they lack the capability to store dangerous magical items. It's the fact that they do. They store many of them. Some of the most dangerous that history has drawn forth. You have that many things in one place. Eventually someone will come to find them. If I had somebody rob my barracks of every weapon that I had, every ounce of gold from our coffers, and they stored it, a raiding party stored it all in one cave, where do you think I'm sending my army next? As far as what to do beyond hiding it with the elves, I cannot advise you on this. I do not know how to destroy these items. I do not know what their significance is or what they are remnant of. But I would advise that you find that out before you decide to hand this over to somebody you've never met. Glenmont isn't that far from Tal'cratis. If something happens there, they're in the crossfire.
Understood. So what are you going to do with Davrick?
Hang on. Davrick is an interesting problem. But he seems to be wrapped up in this as much as you are. And he's like, at this, he kind of like looks up and he's just like, I don't want anything to do with this. Please, just, you can have anything of mine. I've got no notes left. I have nothing, no desire. I just want to go back to Blackhearth. Please. He looks down to him and he goes, if I'm not one to execute a man for simple thievery. I'm not going to execute him forced under duress to provide something even as heinous as this. It's not within our code to do so. But he, like you, cannot stay here. If you see no problem with it, I suggest he is sent farther away than Glenmont or anywhere here. I suppose I should send him back to Blackhearth with an escort. Keep him there. If it means I have to station somebody there, so be it, but...
So you consider Davrick dangerous if you need someone to be stationed with him?
I don't think this fellow here is necessarily a dangerous man in and of himself, but his mind has been touched by this material, and he understands how to wield this dark magic. Even if he doesn't want to, somebody else may, and may want him to help again.
So, I guess I find it silly that when you have someone in your possession who knows how to work with the item that we are trying to eliminate, and knows how to weaken it at the very least, why we would send them away where they could easily be snatched by somebody else. It would make more sense to have him help you here.
If you think somebody can be easily snatched away under the watch of a Red Walker, you're sadly mistaken.
I watched a Red Walker get snatched away in the mouth of a giant beast. If you're going to send him back to Blackhearth with an escort, you better have a damn good escort, because if the source that controlled the Night Stalker is behind the new continuation of the Black Ice, you're going to need an army bigger than what you sent to follow us to contain him, because I guarantee they're going to come to get him.
You see him kind of like wringing his hands. He goes, well, what do you suppose? Me to kill him? You want me to send him with you?
I mean, we did
You want me
better
to
than
keep
what
him
you're
here
doing.
and invite somebody to attack me and my people to get him back?
Well, you feel confident in your guard's ability. You feel confident in your troop, in yourself, to take down what opposes you. But yet you're willing to send him away where he could be taken. It just feels contradictory.
Because if somebody comes here and I don't understand who's going to come for, people will die here. I am not occupied with the protection of Blackhearth, or this man's protection if he were to leave my realm. It sounds disheartening, but he is not my ward. I am not sworn to protect him. And if this man's life is going to endanger everyone around it by merely existing, perhaps sending him to Blackhearth isn't a great idea. But keeping him here is an even worse one. So please, and he looks to the whole party and he goes, with your infinite wisdom, where would you send this man?
I would much rather see him come with us than be sent back with people that, and I don't mean the worst of respects, but could be easily snatched by something bigger than them, leaving him defenseless. I feel more confident in our group's abilities than I do your Red Walkers.
Or a persuasion check.
Here we go. All right.
God damn it.
At the slight to the Red Walkers, he kind of looks around and he goes, you're worried about my warriors being snatched, and you travel with elderly halflings and would-be warriors.
Oh, who's elderly?
And he looks and he goes, it's not that I think your intentions are misguided, but you may be misguided in your action. If you think this group here is more capable than an armed platoon of Red Walkers, so be it. But that risk and that judgment should be on your head. And if you wish to take him with you, do it quickly.
Yeah, we can do it.
Because the longer he stays here, the more now I worry someone will come for him. And when they do, and when they intend to kill everyone that surrounds him, I'd rather that be you than my men.
Should people come for him while he is in our possession, I will fight for his life till my dying breath.
I'm sure you will.
He's coming with us.
And he kind of motions to Riley, who kind of like hurriedly undoes the chains. He hands the shackles and the chains to you, like unshackled though, like you get a pair of them, Marleone.
Nice.
And Dever kind of like wrings his wrists, and looks down, and he looks up to Saurad, and he goes, "Well, I suppose it's mutual. But anything to get out of this hole?" He kind of walks over to the far side of the table and like sits down next to all of you. Motions to Vern. He like sits next to Vernon. He like nods towards the tea, and he's like, "You gonna drink that?"
Nah, I'm good. I don't like tea.
And he just kind of nods, and he's like, you see him just like immediately like gulp. It's like downs the whole thing and like puts it down. Saurad takes his seat back at the table, and goes, "It's settled then. And take the dwarf, the cursed sword, and all of the ill winds that come with them."
You mentioned you had a black ice ring.
Indeed, it was on the body of Beacon.
Do you think that could be as much of a threat as the dwarf or the blade? What will you do with that?
As I don't understand the inner workings of this, I intend to dispose of this as well. It'll be cast into the sea and carried away.
So you consider throwing the object into the sea as a safe way to get rid of something. Should I throw my sword into the sea then too?
If you throw it far enough away.
Or, since we're already leaving your city, send it with us.
You've told me that whatever this is a manifestation of the dark magic that brings people back to life, unnaturally. The way that I saw a decapitated body writhe around in my morgue in the basement. That I, myself, had to chop to pieces again after an execution. He puts his longsword down again, like on the counter behind him, and he goes, "And you want me to send this ring with you? With the individual that invented it?"
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it would make your town a lot safer.
Safer than
Which is
casting
what
it
you
into the
want.
sea, as you would suggest.
The reason I consider casting the ring into the sea is because it is both gone and hard to reach and find for whoever who is looking for it.
If you throw it.
I would do the same for the dwarf, if it were not for the fact that he is a person. If I could take his risk, his knowledge, and cast it to the sea, to be carried away to distant shores, I'd very much do that. But I give it to you. Yes, it leaves my realm. Yes, he leaves my realm as well. But that is not the greatest way to reduce risk for me.
The greatest way to reduce risk is to cast it into the sea.
So that it will never be seen on this land again? Yes.
But what you're forgetting is people fish on the sea, and all it takes is one person to pull up what you threw down there, and now your risk begins all over again.
This fantasy you weave of somebody finding a ring at the bottom of the sea by fishing and bringing it back to this land? We train hawks to carry them miles and miles
You're not
out till
looking
they
at
can't
the big
fly
picture.
anymore.
You throw it into the sea, let's say a fish eats that ring. A person catches the fish, they bring it back, they got the fish, they find the ring.
How likely is it, do you think, a fish eats the ring compared to you being killed on the road and losing that ring to the man that seeks it?
I would say pretty likely.
Then I suppose we disagree on this matter. Now, I will do with this ring with what I please. If I find a compelling argument from any of you or someone else to send it with you, that isn't the likelihood of a sea bass consuming it and bringing it home, then perhaps I will. For now, I will have to reject that request.
Is the ring still on the table, or did he put it back in his person?
It's like next to him.
If trouble follows where black ice goes, perhaps it won't be too difficult to find it unguarded at the bottom of the sea. If the ring goes to the bottom of the sea, so will the people who are looking for it.
And how many people make it back from the bottom of the sea? Who has gone and returned?
Compared to creating an item that can bring the dead back to life without a head, I think going to the bottom of the sea would be rather easy.
Well, if that's true, then I can't possibly see what stops it from getting it no matter what. Exiling something is impressively effective. I've exiled people. I've exiled bands of people from lands.
Have there been active groups of people trying to bring them back?
Sometimes. But for the most part, when you find something small, you cast it away into an empty abyss. Most people aren't able to find it.
What you're casting away isn't like most substances. Black ice is basically a beacon. And all throwing it in the sea does is give them a location to go and find it. What we're carrying is a beacon. We want it gone just as much as you do. But the more of it that exists in this world, that exists uncontrolled, unkept, or destroyed, the higher the chance of something negative happening. And
Go ahead and roll one more persuasion check.
God damn.
Big money. Here we go.
Please.
This is the one.
Please. Ugh.
I mean, it's decent.
As you say this, you see him fold up the ring into the cloth, put it back in his robe pocket, and looks to you and goes, points to the dwarf, points to Davrik, and he goes, "You said this man can devise a way to destroy this material. You bring me that solution before I cast this out, and I will destroy it in front of you for you to witness. That is the concession I'm willing to make."
I want to look to Davrik. How powerful of a corrosion do you need to destroy black ice, Davrik?
Well, if you've got any more of that lifespan, that'll accelerate the process quite a bit. But other than that, it's going to take months to synthesize something.
Damn.
You don't have any left, do you?
I used it for a greater purpose.
Could find someone that sells it.
I don't even know where to begin looking.
I'm sure you got friends in dark places.
It's gonna be a long journey, guys.
Saurad sits up from the table and looks to all of you and goes, "I hope that you have some semblance of understanding what I have to deal with to keep my people safe in this. And judging from my spat with Yovir and having to send Redwalkers after a problem, after publicly denouncing it, and paint a bad picture, but my goals are not far, it seems, from yours. Different people, perhaps. Different means, assuredly, but we both have people we seek to protect. And hopefully we've come to an understanding.
I'll agree to disagree. Marleon's gonna stand up from the table and start walking towards the door. Fucking done with this guy.
Alright. Are you all getting up?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll kind of get to your feet. Riley comes around and like gathers up the tea glasses. And Saurad kind of walks with you guys to the entrance of the building, where you guys came in. And closes the double doors behind him. Riley kind of nods to all of you as you're walking out. He kind of like gives a hand and nods slightly. As he closes the door behind him, he's standing in the hallway with all of you. And he looks to Marleon, to Verna, and to Soren, and goes, "And just so you know, it's not polite to reject tea in these parts.
When it's made with the Highland blood rose.
Which is the highest form of respect one can bestow.
If not brewed correctly, it can be very toxic. I wasn't taking my chances.
And I was to poison myself. I understand. Well, I suppose you'll be heading south now. With all of your items in tow. And while this wasn't exactly how I hoped it would work out, I do hope you make it safely to where you go. For my sake and for yours. And he kind of opens the door to the building. I want everybody to make an initiative check real quick.
Oh, all right.
So you just roll an initiative.
Well.
Fucking Desmos.
God, I can never find the initiative button. Where's
You
it?
just click initiative, don't you?
It's right above your hit points.
Oh.
Directly above.
Oh,
your
okay.
Why
Yeah.
are there decimals?
It's because the modifier is added to it, so if you roll the same thing.
Yeah.
Ah.
It can be used to like break ties. So if like two people roll an 11, the person with the higher modifier typically goes first.
As the door opens, as he's saying this, he goes, for your sake and for mine, I hope you make it safely to the south. He opens the door, and you see a crossbow bolt fly through the door and stick into his left shoulder as he spins for a moment and looks at you. And then as you look down towards his shoulder, you see Marleon and those that have witnessed it before, the familiar sizzling of Lifesbane burning into his shoulder. As Saurad gasps for a moment, you hear this rasping noise. He kind of falls to his falls down for a second. He's not like dead, but he's just like gasping for air as he's just been hit. You see, as the door kind of slowly opens up, a cloaked figure running off in the distance through crowds of people that are kind of starting to gather around this area, disappearing into the crowd as you're all just like, as this immediately just happened.
Oh my god.
And that's where we're going to end for tonight.
Oh, Jesus.
I knew it.
10 out of 10. I wouldn't expect it any other way, to be honest. God fucking damn it. I thought we were done with that. I was so ready to be done with Lifesbane. Minus getting rid of the supplier, but hey.
It's a flower? Or a poison?
No, not
The
Lifesbane.
tea. Yeah, the tea was potentially.
Oh,
poison.
okay.
Yeah, we didn't notice anything from that, right?
Yeah, we didn't determine
Nope.
anything. I don't think.
Damn.
I think
It was
safe.
brewed correctly. It was not poisonous.
Oh well, it tasted good.
How dare he
Yeah,
call
it's-
us
I mean-
elderly.
This is kind of a. I don't mean. I guess I don't know how
You said it was brewed with
Alron
lemon.
is reacting.
I don't like
Kind of a
tea.
lot to process.
Call us elderly. Call us names.
I'm reacting to what?
Also, I feel a little
Just
bad
like,
about it.
because I mean, I guess I'm not sure if we were as characters 100% clued into like the black ice and what exactly was going on.
I've been keeping track of like what little bits they've mentioned before, so
Mm.
we're kind of slowly putting it together.
Yeah, I just didn't know about corpses coming back to life.
No, this is new to us.
That's new.
Saurad and Marleon haven't shared everything.
No.
Yeah, so that's
Him
a
and I
lot.
have some history
Paycheck.
with this shit.
So, next Thursday, let me check real quick. Should be good though.
Cool.
Yeah, should be good.
I do start my new job on Monday.
Oh yeah, I was
so-
gonna ask. What did you